You know how everybody's going crazy over the Epstein files? Well, we're going back to the original Epstein files, the JFK assassination.
What should we do?
Unc will help us.
Welcome back to the Unk Podcast. I'm Unk, this is Cam, and we have an expert today on JFK assassination with us, Mark Morrow, and he's going to break it down to us in a way you've never heard before. Welcome to the podcast, Mark. How you doing today, sir?
Thank you very much, Doug. Thank you for having me, Kevin.
What's going on with you guys? Hey, yo, Mark, so can you tell the people about yourself a little bit? Tell them exactly, like, what made you get into looking deeper into Kennedy?
Yeah, great question. I started when I was 12 years old. My grandfather was very big into it, and little bits here and there, he would tell me things, and I just became super interested in the topic and studied it for a long time. It's been, 38 years now? And then I had an injury back in 2012 that gave me some free time during the rehab from the injury to really look at it a little bit deeper with a new set of eyes. And now with the internet being out and be able to take a real closer look at it. And during that time is, when I formulated my ultimate, conclusions on at least, the best I could come up with a working theory on what really, really happened.
Well, yeah, there's multiple theories. I mean, they have about like 4 different really good, serious theories that you'd have to decipher through and actually come up with all the details and then go through the pros and cons of what you think makes sense and what doesn't make sense. I mean, people don't even realize what's the assassin's name?
Lee Harvey
That
Oswald.
Lee Harvey got into an incident in a movie theater right after the assassination with a cop, and people don't realize that the story of Lee Harvey Oswald before and right after the assassination is very interesting. What happened before he got arrested, and then him getting
Sure.
assassinated too is just like it just goes above and beyond the realm of definite conspiracy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Go ahead.
what are your thoughts? I was going to ask.
Well, I'd just like to, comment on the different theories. First of all, I'm going to, throw you a curveball and tell you that, it's my opinion that most of the conspiracy theories actually come from the CIA. They're the biggest promoter of them. And
I believe that.
the reason they do that, the crazier the theory, the easier it is to discredit people that are researching it, the easier it is to lead them down a wrong path. And then to complicate things even more, they would release information that was both, we call it like a half-truth. Part of it was actually true. So it becomes even more believable. But the other part of the story is a complete lie, and it causes this big web. So, yeah, I hear people all the time, the CIA did it, the mafia did it, the Russians did it. And, in many ways, none of those people were involved. The people that killed Kennedy were a small subset of multiple groups.
Yes.
At the same time, all of those theories are plausible.
Even is that though, what people don't realize is what you just said is extremely important for current events. That is
Yeah.
what's going on right now today in the world. There's multiple groups that all have kind of the same agenda, but different methods of reaching their agenda. Now, at the end of the day, now one group may take an action to further their agenda, and another group that may support the overall ending of it, but not how they got there, may release information slowly and show that they found, and then that's you get like a very confusing when it comes to trying to gather information with these type of events, like 9/11, Epstein. You talk about let's say even the financial collapse of '08. It's too much fishy things involved, and too many nefarious actors involved that twist and turn things, and then have the, like you said, the half truths come out, and now people are confused as to what's actually to believe and how do you differentiate and sort through all this information and details. It's years and years of details. The History Channel, Military Channel, all type of different TV shows come out with shows trying to debunk it, trying to figure out what really happened. And honestly, I think what you just said is spot on.
Yeah.
Small subsection groups of a bigger organization that did something independently. That's what happened. And then
Right.
other people don't want to tell on them, so they're just, like it's like if I see Doug do something to somebody, I'm not talking about it. I don't care. I'm not gonna even indulge in it. Oh, Doug did something to that person. Man, I don't know. That's what they said. You know what I'm saying? Even though I might know exactly what happened, I might even been there, but I'm still going to deflect. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we have now is a bunch of deflection because people who know don't want to expose because they may expose themselves later on.
That's the thing too. When it comes to operations like this, nobody that's privy to it has clean hands. You
Yeah,
have to do something that they
that's it.
can have something against you before they'll even allow you to have any clue what's going on. So they're all
Yeah.
guilty.
And that kind of ties to the Epstein files in a way. It's very likely that that was part of that was a, operation to blackmail politicians and business figures.
Mm.
And that's what Epstein is really all about is the blackmail because you got to understand that there's agencies that have power but don't have the ultimate power. So they have enough power to do things and to let's say put out a program or even fund an let's say assassination or changing a government, but that necessarily was the whole agency involved in that particular program or action. You know what I'm saying? And that's what people gotta realize that when you're looking into these things, you have to take all the evidence, all of the details, and what makes sense, you sift through. You have to sift through. But
Mhm.
what organizations and what entities do you feel had the biggest impact? Which we already know is the CIA, but whatever. What where do you feel, or because George Bush said he wasn't there, then later on it comes out he was there. Then they were saying that he wasn't even really involved in the CIA, but come to find out he was the deputy director. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Then he became vice president. You know what I'm saying? So everybody already knows that you're never out of the agency. You're always in the agency, no matter how old you are, how long you started your service. You're still in the agency, no matter what, because they will call upon you, even just to push out a different, let's say, not necessarily per se, for propaganda. Even just the propaganda alone is something that they have that we can't. You'll never know who's really putting out the propaganda, but propaganda is out there all day. You'll always have the propaganda. You'll never know where the source is of who's giving the misinformation. You know?
Right. With the JFK case, they do know about some authors that were on their payroll. And then there was the whole
Uh,
Operation Mockingbird, which they basically got caught in, which is
which is still
CIA
active,
paying, yeah, basically probably a different name, but same concept.
same program.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you mentioned George Herbert Walker Bush. There's very little, like, really good evidence that he was involved. He did say he didn't know where he was on 11/22/63, like everybody remembers. So that's a lie. Um,
And it came out that
and
they're on scene. He was in
yeah,
Dallas.
well, that's questionable. There's a picture of somebody that looks just like him. You
Ah,
gotta it's very tricky because the CIA was very good at using duplicates and body doubles. So, who knows? They could have put a guy that looked there just like him, just so they could blackmail him later. Um, we re
wow. I didn't even
yeah,
think of it like that. That is fucking nuts.
there were
Yeah.
multiple
That is
people like
nuts.
yeah, there's a guy there
But
that looks exactly like Woody Harrelson's father. Um,
Who was a CIA agent? Actually,
yeah,
assassin. He was an
he was
assassin.
involved, yep, and, uh, he murdered a federal judge.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'm looking for a quote here I'm gonna find regarding, JF, uh, uh, Bush, but I want you to keep it the questions. I'll look for it while you're asking the questions.
Yeah. So,
no,
so
I was
just
gonna
giving
say just the fact that he doesn't remember, that he claims to not remember. Every
I was gonna get
person
back.
that was alive at that time remembers to this day exactly where they were, exactly what they were doing when they heard that news.
I mean, it had to be the most. I mean, it had to. Like I said, for that time, that would have to be the most attention any sort of story had. You know what I'm saying? For whatever few months and it was the top of the headlines. So now you gotta sit there and think to yourself, all right, now if we have a headline event like that, like everybody knows where they were at 9/11, and you are in an agency where it's your duty to figure out what's going on. Your lie pushes and projects guilt.
All right. So I'm gonna read you, a quote here. I'm gonna leave the name out of it and come back to it, but the quote is, some even believe that we are part of a secret cabal working against the best interests of the United States, characterizing my family and me as internationalists and conspiring with others around the world to build a more integrated global political and economic structure, one world, if you will. If that's the charge, I stand guilty and am proud of it. So that is essentially, people say, is there really a deep state? This is basically an admission
That's
of being part of the deep state here.
And that's Bush. When did Bush say that?
Oh, Bush didn't say that.
Who said that? That's like a Bush statement.
That sounds like Henry Kissinger.
Kissinger? Nah.
That's what it sounds like.
That's a great guess. It was David Rockefeller, and Kissinger was a stooge for the Rockefellers.
Yes. Kissinger was basically his gopher.
Correct. Yeah, I was gonna say that just sounds like something Kissinger would have said.
Guess who else was also like that? Was a student of the Rockefellers?
What was that?
Lots of them. LBJ, Dulles, Hoover. Who did you say?
Wexler.
I don't know much about him.
That's the guy who trained Epstein.
Wow.
Victoria's Secret.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yep.
He was also a student of them. Yeah. He was. They were all in the same circles.
Right.
His name was in the Epstein files.
So here's another interesting one. This is about a whistleblower that has had all sorts of people come to him about different things. He supposedly worked for this group called Pegasus and had tape recordings of plans to assassinate Kennedy. Pegasus was supposedly a CIA unit that spied on the CIA, kind of like a keeping tabs on you type thing.
Like an internal affairs, basically.
Run that back. You said Pegasus?
Yeah. And there's very limited information. It's I would have to admit at this point, it's, with what I've seen, it's difficult to prove it actually existed. But there have been people that claim that it does. So it says, what group of these were these tapes identifying? Parker said, and he says Rockefeller, Allen Dulles, Johnson of Texas, George Bush, and J. Edgar Hoover. And he asked what the nature of the conversations were on these tapes. And he says that he doesn't have the tapes anymore, but they were all given to Larry McDonald, a congressman. And he listened to the tape recordings, and there were conversations between Nelson Rockefeller and Hoover, where Rockefeller asks, are we going to have any problems? He said, no, we aren't going to have any problems. I checked with Dulles. If they do their job, we'll do our job. And there's a whole bunch of these tapes, supposedly. And the reason they have the tapes is Hoover he was taping everybody else. He never thought that anybody would have the balls to go into his own office and do it to him. So it's kind of like his guard was down. They made it appear it was actually pretty easy to do.
Wow. I'm going to go watch 10, 30. I'm going to have to watch like 10 documentaries on that now.
It makes total sense, though.
I have no clue about that. I'd never heard of that before, which is very odd for me.
If you're recording everybody else and it's known that you're recording everybody else, it's like you would have one of these other people would have to be a genius in order to record you and get away with it and be able to express that to somebody else without you finding out about it in the recordings.
Yeah, and people that are powerful like that, they tend to be so cocky that they never think to protect themselves.
Well, I mean, it's like LBJ as well. He's recording his own recordings, and you don't think that he's going to catch something on his own recordings.
Right. So one of the things that I did, my grandfather was very certain that LBJ, Allen Dulles, and J. Edgar Hoover were involved, but he really couldn't figure out, the rest of it. And that's where Nelson Rockefeller really comes in. People don't understand the connections that he had. He was very close friends with J. Edgar Hoover, and he had a secret political alliance with LBJ. They got a Republican and Democrat working together, both highly corrupt individuals, so they were a perfect fit together. And also the Dulles family was using the Rockefellers were using the Dulles for years as attorneys, going back to World War I with the agreements to end World War I and some scandals in World War II. So the history goes back a long, long way. And Nelson Rockefeller also desperately wanted to be president, even more than LBJ did. He said the biggest regret in his life was not being president. And a lot of people forget after Nixon. So Nixon's VP got kicked out for something illegal. Gerald Ford becomes the VP. Nixon gets caught up in Watergate. There's
What was
some.
the first VP that came from?
Well, Nixon was one of the last actual real presidents because Nixon had a mandate from the people. Nixon got the most votes period.
The most what?
The most votes.
Yeah, yeah.
In
So
history.
when Nixon left, that made Ford president. Ford was on the Warren Commission, and he was also a stooge for the Rockefellers, and he appointed Nelson Rockefeller vice president. And within 4 months
Vice
of
president of
Ford,
what?
I'm sorry,
Rockefeller was the vice president of what?
the United States.
That's one of the most dangerous things that you could
What
possibly do.
Rockefeller was
For
what
somebody like that, vice president.
was Carter's vice president?
No, he was Ford's.
Ford.
So Ford
Okay,
became
before my
president,
time.
obviously, when Nixon got kicked out. And then the way it worked back then, in a scenario like that, you had to appoint a VP. There was no election, so I think it might even still be that way. So he made Nelson Rockefeller VP, and within 4 months of that, there were 2 assassination attempts on Ford.
All right. See, that's why I would imagine they would just make the Speaker of
Wow.
the House will be the VP, since that's the next person up for the presidency anyway.
That's crazy. Yeah, but the VP is usually somebody from the opposite party. I mean, the
Same party.
yeah, Speaker of the House is usually
Yeah,
somebody from the
but
party.
no, but I'm saying just in general in the assassination of a president, if the president goes, it goes vice
Speaker of the House is
president.
vice
If
president now.
vice president and the president at the same time
Correct.
go, then it goes to the Speaker of the House. So I mean,
Right.
it's
Secretary-
unorthodox. This vice president was never elected president. They became president, because the president died. So that changes everything. I think.
Supposedly, his family used to hear him at family events in their New York estate, like conspiring with his brothers, figuring out how they could get um, to the presidency or vice presidency without an election. And then that's exactly what happens. So pretty crazy.
I
Pretty-
wouldn't
Now,
doubt
which
Ford-
Rockefeller was in the Congress?
I don't know if he was ever in Congress.
No, he was
Oh, wait. You're thinking
was
of J. Rockefeller.
J.
I think
Rockefeller. I thought it was different. I never heard of that name.
J. Rockefeller was, I think, a governor maybe of New York.
Of New York, yeah.
Or
Oh, okay.
Virginia. No, it was maybe Virginia. And then Nelson Rockefeller was the governor of New York. He was also the vice president. Other government positions he had. He was head of the Department of Health and Education or something like that. And that's where money from that department was funneled to the CIA for MKUltra. So he didn't put any of his own money in it that we know of, but he was using government money, just, a little counting trick and sending it over to the CIA to use for MKUltra.
I believe that MKUltra is not only still going on, but so is Operation Mockingbird. Either one of 2 things: change the name, because we never heard of an official document stating that those operations were closed or stopped or under review or anything of that nature. We just heard about the documents, or we heard about those operations through legal action that happened within Congress for something else.
Yeah. So I'll give you something really interesting, too. There's sort of a tie between Epstein and the JFK assassination in that, let's see, it's probably about 50 years ago, there was a big scandal in Belgium, and there was a woman that was sexually abused, and she accused several politicians in Belgium, and it was like the Epstein, like the first Epstein, if you will, and
What year
she
was this?
claims. I'm sorry.
What year was this?
In the 1970s. She didn't come out with her story until fairly recently. There was one individual that's in her book that did spend jail time for kidnapping. Somehow he kidnapped a child and only spent 3 years in jail, something stupid like that.
Wow.
Very corrupt, right? But she did accuse one of the Rothschilds of physically abusing her, not sexually. And she did accuse David Rockefeller of sexually abusing her in New York in the 1970s. Again, very difficult to prove, but some of her story is checked out. I know there's been a few JFK researchers that have tried to reach out to her about this to see if she's aware of the connection, and I don't know if there's been any success there, but it's a fascinating story.
What do you feel about the Grassy Knoll and there being multiple?
Yeah. So, the common questions there are: did the headshot come from the Grassy Knoll, and
Does his
did
head
any
move?
shots come from the Grassy Knoll?
Now, if you're shooting, all right, I'm a very proficient long distance shooter. All right, yeah. What I was saying,
Okay, so I'll say a couple things about that. I did a podcast that actually proves there was a shot that came from the not Grassy Knoll. In itself, it doesn't prove that
hit him.
shot hit anything.
Right.
But what happened is there was a bunch of witnesses that saw smoke by the Grassy Knoll. And another big misconception about the Grassy Knoll is there's a standard position behind the fence that everybody thinks like that's the Grassy Knoll. It was kind of a relatively big area. It was an L shape. And it went all the way back to the triple underpass. So when people say shots came from the Grassy Knoll, it could have been two vastly different directions.
And under the Grassy Knoll was another area in itself.
I'm sorry?
Under the Grassy Knoll was another area in itself where people were standing.
Yeah. There's all kinds of weird spots that shots could have come from. A lot of people say shots came from the South Knoll, which is the opposite side. That's some of the latest research is showing that. But what I did, it was really interesting. I did what I call my wind analysis, where we know that there were wind reports coming out of the airport that day of a particular direction, which was going towards the Texas School Book Depository.
That's why.
Yep.
That's
and
why,
we know that exactly. We know that the witnesses.
Well, also, one second. That's what I was saying I'm a professional shooter, right? So now,
Yep.
For you to shoot something that's going in the opposite direction of you, with the wind coming into your direction, you have to aim higher, and you have to aim in front. So you have to guide the bullet or guide the target to the bullet. You understand what I'm saying? So for him to have that many rounds to hit, if you notice where they hit and how they hit, that backward motion of jerking is not a round that hit him from behind.
Right.
There's no way that his whole body, his whole head, everything jerked backwards. And you've seen his wife next to him look at him, and she looked all over the place. She didn't look in one direction.
Right.
You hear shots coming from different places.
Exactly. And if you look at there's a couple pictures that were taken at the time of the headshot, and you can see women's dresses being blown the same direction. The skirts are literally up in the air, facing the direction that matches the wind reports from the airport. So it verifies that at the time of the shot, that's exactly where the wind was going. You got multiple sources verifying the same thing.
Hard shot.
I'm sorry?
That's a hard shot. That's not an easy shot.
Yeah, for sure. And
the cheap operating.
And in addition to the wind, the smoke.
$12 gun? It's just crazy.
Yeah, the smoke was on street level. That could not have come from the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository. You can't fight, smoke can't fight 17-mile-per-hour winds and go up. Go down from, heat travels up, and he's on the 6th floor. How's it coming down and against the 17-mile-per-hour wind? It didn't happen. There were without a doubt shots from street level. There's also a very interesting battle that goes on between the people that believe Lee Harvey Oswald did. I'm going to put multiple categories. There's people that believe Lee Harvey Oswald had nothing to do with it, wasn't even a shooter. There's people that believe Lee Harvey Oswald was involved, probably made some shots, and there were also others involved in the plot. And there are others that believe Lee Harvey Oswald did everything all by himself. And that's the most unlikely theory of all of them.
Explain to people what happened after the shots rang out, and what happened to Lee Harvey Oswald as he ran from the book depository. He went to the movie theater, and he ran into a cop, and those other weird stuff that happened after that.
Yeah, that's all speculation. In fact, after the shots, it appears he didn't do anything. He stayed right in the Texas School Book Depository. He didn't go anywhere. Yeah, the cop.
They didn't recover the gun that was allegedly hit.
Later that, a couple hours later, they went back and found the gun.
Who leaves the
gun
after you kill a president? Unless you thought somebody else was coming to come clean that up.
Right. Yeah. He just, not only did he stay there, but he stayed there and was confronted by a police officer. Police officer came running in with his manager, and they asked some questions, and he was just sitting there drinking a Coke, chilling out.
This is not. It's an odd thing.
And
Somebody that just killed somebody.
yeah, it's very odd behavior if somebody had just killed somebody. And he did eventually leave. He probably decided to leave when he figured out that he was the patsy. He started figuring out
I was just about
that
to.
he was.
I wanted to make sure you was going to say that, because if you didn't say that, I was going to say no. He left because he realized it wasn't going down the way they said it was supposed to go down. Like,
Right,
wait,
right.
what the police doing here? Like, what the
And
fuck?
he still could have been completely innocent. It's very, very viable. He could have been involved in a CIA operation. There's a interesting theory that he was told that somebody was just going to fire a shot in the air and not hit the president, and the goal was to use that to go back into Cuba again.
You remember those kids at the Boston bombing, the Boston
Yeah.
parade?
Mhm.
They said they thought it was a drill.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Who knows what happens with a lot of these newer
He might
things?
have thought it was
I feel like they've gotten better at their jobs of doing these crimes.
yeah.
They're a lot
Crazy.
harder than
If
like
I'm
the JFK case. They made so many mistakes.
if I'm paying the media and I could train somebody to do something professionally, and then I can have somebody that's halfway of a professional do something, I have everything all the cards are in my book or on my deck. I'm saying I have the capability now to put on any show I want, to make it look exactly how I want it to look, to what the data shows me is believable to the people. And what's believable to the people is one person who has a political agenda with a rifle, and that person is all that's there. There's nothing else. That's how every single assassination is, and that's what the people are supposed to believe. And not only are they supposed to believe that, but most of these guys are some weirdos that not like the person they're shooting at doesn't actually directly affects them. You understand? Look
Right.
at the shooting. Look at the fucking the Reagan shooting. Look at the Charlie Kirk shooting. Look at JFK shooting. All of these shootings, the people that they say that shot these people, the people do not directly affect them, but they had some sort of political cause of why they're saying that they did what they did. And it's always a
Mhm.
one person that did it, but no one knows how that one person could even afford. Because to do things like this, you have to pay. It costs money to
Yes.
go to fly somewhere, to buy a weapon, to have a hotel, to have a vehicle, to move around, to eat. You know what I'm saying? You got to eat.
Huh.
All of this stuff costs money. So if someone is funding these people to do these type of acts and
Yeah.
and then when you hear about the government actually messing with things like MKUltra, now you're like, well, wait a minute. Then you see movies like the Born Supremacy, and you're like, wait a minute. And you can't you just continue to have the wait a minute moments, because now you're sitting here like, this doesn't add up. And what's really going on is this is some sort of conspiracy. But now you're labeled a conspiracy theorist, and you're labeled weird because you think that the things that you're looking at doesn't make sense because you have a common sense ideology. The ideology of common sense is what rules my fucking train of thought. And if common sense doesn't add up, then I don't think that that's right. And I'm not going to go with it. Whether the police tell me, the fucking government tells me, the news media tells me, it doesn't matter who says it. I don't believe that what they're telling me is correct. They're either incorrect or they're misleading, at least. You know what I'm saying? Or they're being nefarious, which in this
Yeah.
case is definitely nefarious because it's a power structure behind it all. If we take this guy out on some real mafia shit, we whack this guy, guess what? Who
Boss.
gets into his stuff that we whack is going to become ours now. And that's the United States. That's the actual federal government. And that's what they were doing. It was a coup. There's a coup that's been going on since Kennedy assassination that's been lasting since then. And it's the CIA took over the fucking government. And then not only just the regular CIA, but Black Project CIA
Yeah.
took over the government, mixed with the assassination parts. So the parts of the you gotta understand that even in like the EPA is so compartmentalized that not everybody inside within that agency knows what's going on. See what I'm saying? So now you have EPA people that are undercovers too. Well, guess what? Not everybody in the EPA is going to know about their undercover activities or know about these type of maneuvers where they're going under, like, because there's poachers that are big scenario, and that's just the EPA. You know what I'm saying? That's just to put that there. I'm not poachers. There's people like even like Volkswagen, how they got caught manipulating the diesel, the stats, and still putting out cars that weren't up to the car. Right? All right. That's the EPA that's supposed to go after that. That's a major corporation, and they got fined multiple times. So that just shows you that that's the EPA, which is not a big major agency. You're talking about the CIA right here. These people have a different type of even structure and clearance level where they're allowed to do things that majority of agencies don't even understand that why they're allowed to do that in the law. Like, no, the law allows them to assassinate people and overthrow governments. And you're like, I don't know how to do that.
The
No,
only
it's
thing
in
is they're not supposed to operate on U.S. soil.
operating. This is what they're This is what they're supposed to. This is what they were made to do. This is what. But the problem is they're doing it against us now because the individuals within the organization that got so much power, and now they're turning against the actual people that gave them the power itself. You understand? And that's what's going on. Is that the organization is too big, and you cannot police everybody in the organization because the organization has too many moving parts. So now you see, like what you're saying. All right, so now we have a small clandestine group within the CIA that has an agenda or have backers with an agenda, and now they're gonna play out the role. Like, have you seen these masks that they've been showing lately? These masks that people be wearing. Now think about at the State of the Union and think about how people are like, yo, he's taller. Hey, he looked like he's moving weird because it's a mask. But it would sound crazy for me to tell you this, but then it's not crazy for you to see it on social media that people got masks that they can put on it, and you're like, even you're looking at this shit like, damn, that looks totally different. Wow, he's a fucking Chinese guy and he looks black. How the hell did he do that? You know what I'm saying? So how do you think that these people are not doing these same type of operations, and when they have unlimited funding and they're professional and they have the legal right to murder people? You think you can't put me in that position? I'm doing the same thing that they're doing right now. And people be sitting there like, yo, the Cam is wilding. What the hell's wrong with him? And I'll be sitting here like, no, you don't know. I can't tell you why I know and why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm doing what I'm doing because I know something different than what you know. There's things that I know that it's forcing me to do these type of decisions. We don't know. Maybe they're doing the right thing, or maybe they're doing the nefarious wrong thing. But we do know they're lying to us, and that's wrong. Because we are putting up the money for them to exist. So we shouldn't be lied to. I can accept them doing shit.
But in a way, though, if you think about it, they can't tell us the truth without giving away their position.
I can accept as an American citizen everything they do except for the kids and Epstein stuff.
Yeah.
Everything else past that, I can accept. You said you had to go murder who? Okay, whatever. Show me why. Oh, this is why? And you felt, all right, he's a threat. Fuck it, kill him. I'm not going to say you're wrong. What I'm going to say is you're wrong for doing something to innocent kids. Other than that, oh, this guy is the leader of this country. You want to get him out the way? Then smack him. The fuck? Matter of fact, train me. I'll go over there myself and do it. I'll help you guys. Let them call me tomorrow. I'll disappear off everything. I'm gone because I love my country that much. Because I know people, and I understand how it is to live in a different country. And you and me and Doug let me tell you something. We have this thing that we have, right? That we don't realize. And it's a privilege that we have. And it's an unspoken about privilege to be an American and to live in this country and to understand that people have to sacrifice their lives to do weird shit and foul shit to make us live this comfortability life that we have. And now we can agree or not agree with what they do or how they get to their conclusion, but we can agree that we live better than everybody else in the world. We're being manipulated and lied to at the same time.
Always.
100% we're being lied to. There's no way that they can tell me that the shit that's going on, we're people that don't even have access to much stuff. And we can find out already a lot of information. That already gives them guilt. And now, that whoever is the person who thinks that releasing certain things as far as their documents, because you understand it's the government, it's the federal government, so every single thing that they do is documented. Every single action they took is backed up with some sort of piece of paper that states of why they did it and because they want to make sure they don't get in trouble. You know what I'm saying? So now, with these things being said, there's got to be an accountability factor towards this, or closure factor towards this. One of the two, because you can't have no disclosure and no accountability, because now we just don't trust you. But if you have disclosure, or if you have accountability, then at least you can be like, all right, you know what I'm saying? This guy did wrong. You guys pushed him out there. You exposed him. We said he's no good. He's out of there. Or, you know what I'm saying? Or, all right, you guys have told us why you did what you did. We don't agree with what you did, but you did what you did because you thought that this was going to happen. Fuck it. We got Saddam out. Saddam is not in power no more. These are the type of incidents and events that, I don't agree with. You know what I'm saying? All right, 9/11. I don't agree with this. You know what I'm saying? You guys destroyed the whole fucking culture of America and destroyed fucking the coke price, the weed price, the street price, the fucking real estate price, the fucking renters price. You know what I'm saying? The price of vehicles. I mean, like, whatever price you want to talk about, was destroyed at 9/11. Everything. I didn't even get there yet. I'm just talking about the finances first. I just wanted to explain to you how much it cost before I get to the headache of the fact that you guys are surveilling us like as though we're the ones that are the problem when you're the really problem. You're actually the problem because you guys have advanced technologies and you're not pushing it out there. So now when you have things like Kennedy where somebody gets assassinated 12 o'clock in the afternoon, mind you, remember that, Doug, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, in broad daylight on national TV, there's a lot of factors behind it and powerful moves. Somebody gained so much behind it, or a group gained so much behind it, that they took this radical move and step and said, nah, this has to happen. That was 12 o'clock broad daylight. For us to still have different ideas and can't come to a conclusion of what the fuck really happened, this is done at a professional level, at a different level that we can even comprehend.
At the same time, remember the technology back then wasn't what it is now. So you're speaking, even though you know this, you're speaking from someone that lives surrounded by cameras. You know,
True.
high quality cameras too.
Quality cameras too. Yes, you're right. You're right.
Also, I mean, some of the technology we have now has helped us figure out things about what happened in 1963. You know, the internet is able to us to break down information faster that, you know, the CIA never thought probably would ever come out, but it did.
Yeah, because the way we could now digitalize the video is much different. Even just putting the color to a certain videos are different now. It makes it have a whole different perspective. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, I really believe that not only did factions within the CIA either did it or somebody else to do it or paid somebody to do it, I believe there was a mass conspiracy behind it where it wasn't just a small group. It was groups of small individuals that were grouped together.
Yeah, and I could shed a little light on that. You know, the Secret Service, I don't know if they had any prior knowledge, but they would have been very easy to compromise. They do have, there was a Secret Service agent that admitted to pressuring witnesses to change their testimony. He admitted it. And he told us his bosses did it, and we know exactly who his bosses are. And his bosses reported to the head of the Secret Service, which is a guy named Dillon, who was a stooge for the Rockefellers. So there's your Secret Service connection there. The Hoover was, you know, he covered the whole FBI. That one's simple. It's just Hoover. It's all you needed with the FBI was him. You know, the CIA, you know, it could have been five or six rogue elements of the ex-CIA, you know, probably mostly ex-CIA, maybe some current ones. It's very likely the top level CIA probably didn't know what was going on.
Ex-CIA's connections.
Yeah, they can still use all those same connections. You know, they don't have to be part of the CIA to use. Yeah. In fact,
Now,
there's
before we get
speculation
too far
that,
away from it, real quick, before we get too far away from it, the guy you just said that admitted to you know what his part in it, was he did he just wake up with a guilty conscience one day, or were they putting pressure on him?
the Secret Service agent that admitted
Yeah,
pressuring the witness,
yeah.
nobody was putting any pressure on him. He just felt guilty himself. He literally said, "I felt terrible about it."
All right.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead, finish what you were saying. I just want to ask you that before we got too far away from it.
The head of Skunk Works, when he died on his deathbed, he said, "We're 50 years ahead of what you think. We're 50 years ahead of whatever they're showing you."
Right.
Well, damn, what they're showing us is pretty advanced. What the fuck you guys got? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Well, if it's not clear, it's my opinion that the Rockefellers were the main movers in the assassination.
But they were
And that
involved. Bare minimum.
I'm sorry?
Bare minimum, they were involved in some sort of
Yeah. I mean, look, there was a thing called the Rockefeller Commission that was part of the House Select Committee on Assassinations that Nelson Rockefeller ran, and there was another whitewash, just like the Warren Commission. Literally every one of Rockefeller's conclusions was wrong. You know, a guy that smart can't be wrong on everything, so he's either stupid, which he's not, or he lied. So, yeah. So he had the ability.
Didn't the Rockefellers donate the property for the UN building?
Yep. Yep.
Now think about that. If I own that property, that's like prime time. Why would I give that to somebody for free? Power and control, influence.
That's every country. That's every country that matters in the entire world.
You don't think they had to come pay me homage? I am an international money mover. I need to see everybody who's in power internationally.
Yeah. Nelson Rockefeller founded the CIA, which is the Central Intelligence Agency of the Americas. It came
What the
around
fact?
before the CIA. He founded that and got it up to like 1,500 employees. He was illegally spying on foreign dignitaries with J. Edgar Hoover, which was illegal for the FBI to do, going back to the 1940s. So he was tied to J. Edgar Hoover very closely. Nelson Rockefeller also, it's debatable. You could say he was either in the CIA or he was working on a CIA project. But he used to get pissed at people in the CIA that wouldn't put his CIA titles properly on internal documents. That came from his biographer. So he had, if he wasn't an employee of the CIA at one point, he, without a doubt, was working on a project for them that required him being very heavily involved, probably on a daily basis. He also he was in the National Security Council at times. He's literally as deep state as you can get.
See now, and this is what people don't understand about the deep state, right? When people say deep state, we mean government and NGOs and government actors that's been involved in the government for a period of time. We mean career government or federal employees. That could be in any sort of capacity. You're a deep
Yeah.
state. Period.
You could be doing stuff for the deep state and not even realize
No,
you're doing it for them. That's how
Yep.
complicated this stuff gets. You can get involved with a crime or a scandal and not even know.
Look, let me give you an example, right? Totally unrelated, but that'll explain it to the viewers at home, right? So this guy, a former mafia guy, was being interviewed, and he was explaining that when he was a kid, he was involved in a hit without even knowing about it. It wasn't until he saw it on the news, the next day that he put two and two together.
Yep.
He was told to flatten somebody's tire, and he flattened the guy's tire, and he thought that's what the guy had coming to him. But no, while he was changing his tire, somebody
that's
pulled up alongside and shot him in the head. And when the kid saw it in the news the next day, he understood the part that he played in that. But it's only because he saw it on the news. And then said with the CIA, if they're
right?
telling you to do something that seems totally innocent, you're never going to find out what kind of chain reaction it caused.
Exactly. Great
Like
analogy.
spying on Trump's campaign in 2020 in 2016 when they spied on what's his face. Remember we talked about this the other day? Damn, what the hell is this dude's name? In the Trump campaign.
Oh,
Spied on
Seth Rich?
No, Seth Rich was the Democrat that the Democrats killed. So he would
Oh,
have
yeah,
released
yeah.
that without the Russia gate. Them like that. Paid for the uranium one. But no, I'm talking about the damn, it's a bald head kid. He was a young kid too. Anyway, they spied on him, saying that he was communicating with Ukrainian officials, right, for Trump, and that's what all started Trump getting investigated. And they were trying to make it seem as though he was a foreign, he was doing nefarious activities, basically. Now, you as
Mhm.
a person, or you as a CIA person or an FBI person, because that's what they're getting on this. There's three different agencies now. You get what I'm saying? And the more messed up thing is they're not even getting our agencies all the time. Sometimes they're using other people. So Crossfire Hurricane, that's what I was talking about. So it's Crossfire Hurricane and Arctic Frost. Those are the operations. You guys got to look it up. I can't go deep into it right now, but those are the actual proper names. Crossfire
What?
Hurricane,
Crossfire Hurricane and what else?
Arctic Frost.
Arctic Frost.
Right. Now, these were Obama administration officials using the five guys, 5 I, which is Australia, Britain, United States, and Canada, and I think it's France. I'm not sure. But either or, they share information as far as intelligence wise. And they use that portion, or the British portion, MI6 portion, to spy on these guys in America. So that's what they're doing. Instead of them actually themselves spying on it, what they do is they use our technology, which we share with our allies, and have our allies spy on Americans. And then what they'll do is they'll take that information, classify it, and then push it to whatever agency redacted in certain ways of what they need to look for. Like, oh, this guy, we're looking at this guy. So the FBI now is looking at Trump. Oh, we're looking at this guy. Now the NSA is looking at Trump. But it's not really Trump. It's this guy who works for Trump that did that was communicating with Ukraine pre-presidential because he was the nominated. He was not nominated. I'm sorry. He was the president-elect, which is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do foreign. You're supposed to call all the foreign or all of the foreign power structure that's of your level. You know what I'm saying? People in the government. Hey, look, we're about to get into power in about 20 days. What do you guys do? Who's your contact? You know what I'm saying? That's what they were doing, which was proper procedure. They used that premise to have a foreign country spy on us because it's our ally and use that you're doing terrorism or whatever. This is what they do. There's no way that you in an agency can exactly know what you're actually doing or what's the effect of your everyday. Because your everyday, maybe you're just a computer analyst. You're
And
analyzing
that's why they got all mad when
maybe
Trump
you're
went called
saying
the Russian president because
you're
they knew what they did with the Steele dossier. They didn't want to
yes,
find it
you know
out.
what I'm saying? Maybe you're a journalist and they're just telling you what to write. You don't know what the effect of it is until afterwards. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Because you see what's going on, obviously, but you don't know what's happening in current events. Only they do. That's the whole part. That's the whole thing of compartmentalization and how the government is run is why things like Trump is doing a lot of good, but he's doing a lot of bad. You know what I'm saying? And now why this happens is because of how big the government is. That's why something like a JFK can happen. That's why something like a 9/11 can happen. It's the Epsteins. That's why Epstein is such an important factor, but it's also, you have to judge it with a certain eye of what you're watching and what you're looking at. Because some of the stuff that he's doing is what they do anyway. Anyway, everybody does it. And some of the stuff he was doing was different. Side projects they
So
had. So that's what goes into correlating to now JFK. Like I said, the deep state and the government itself is so big, it's hard for you to say the government killed JFK. No, it's nefarious actors within certain agencies worked with outside people to do something, and they acted on it, and that's what you saw.
Yep. What I'd like to do is suggest for your viewers some books that would be helpful to uh, get a broader idea of the background, all this stuff, and to get right to the chase. If you want to save a lot of time, I would just read the book "Clash of Dynasties" by Richard DeSocio. Another couple good books were by Fletcher Prouty. One was called "The Secret Team," which is kind of how the powers to be use a couple government positions to control things. Then there was another book that he wrote. I forget, it was like JFK, the CIA and the plot to kill or assassinate John F. Kennedy. But it's two Fletcher Prouty books. Also, Chokeholds, which was by 4 or 5 authors. This is a point-by-point destruction of the lone nut theory. And it proves that all of these things would have to be false for there not to have been a
Who's that by?
conspiracy. James D'Eugenio is one of the big pieces of it. I forget the other authors. It was 5 different people, but James D'Eugenio is the big one.
That title is fire. I like that title. The Destruction of the Lone Gun Theory.
Yep. Excellent arguments that just absolutely, tear that theory apart. But those are some good books that would... there's one more, Shadows of Power. That's not about the JFK assassination, though it covers it. It ties into what we're talking about. Probably 13 or 14 different conspiracies that weren't assassinations that occurred that were of a similar nature. You know how we don't have to kill somebody to do something that's that detrimental to the country or to certain people. It could be something much more subtle than an assassination. Yeah, it's a great book.
Nice. I think we need to come up with a book. You heard? We need to write a book and talk about all the historical events and how those events correlate to what you're still seeing today, and do books as part 1s and part 2s. The part 1
Yeah,
is
sure.
and then the part 2 would be, or even we could do podcasts and documentaries about this. I want to do that.
Yeah, we do the book. We do that too. We do the books, and we make them audio books. Sell them on Audible.
Yeah. So, and the first part would be the actual event, and then the part 2 will be the current event that correlates to that event, and why these type of events continue to happen. How you can avoid being caught up in the event, like right now, right? Like even the financial crisis, right? Let's say 2007, right? How can you read current events and realize I need to go invest in things like gold, silver. I need to pull out of this, pull out of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you forecast these events to happen?
Well, when it comes to investments, long-term investments, you know what I'm saying? And it's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. In my opinion, the best thing to do is dollar cost average. You just continue to keep investing in those assets. And when you see them on their way down, you just put a little bit extra if you can afford to. But even when it's on its way up, you don't stop. Just keep on, the dollar cost averages. So now at the end of the year, if every week you invested the same amount, like I said, unless it was going down, you invested a little more. At the end of the year, when you look at the average price you paid per share of that particular investment, whether it be an ounce of gold or a share of stock, it's going to be less than the price is. It should be at least.
I'm
Nah,
an ex-financial advisor,
oh,
ex-certified financial planner. I can say that it's actually excellent advice.
Did not
I
know you had
that
those credentials.
Yeah, yeah.
I say all of that to say this, right? It's on us to go back in time. If you're interested in this conversation, to the audience, it's on you and us to go back in time now and to realize who benefited from them taking Kennedy out, and what was Kennedy's actually doing. And it's always follow the money. Once you follow the money in current events, you'll see exactly what is going on. And what was going on? He was trying to audit stuff. He was trying to join space agencies. He was trying to do what Trump is doing right now: clean up the money, drain the swamp. But couldn't do it because
He also was very much against the he was also very much against the Vietnam War, just like RFK and Martin Luther King. And all three of them were assassinated.
That's the thing. There was so many people that benefited, so many people that had a common interest, so many bad people on top of that. That's what fuels all of these conspiracy theories, because there's really so many other plausible theories.
So
Valid point.
why can't people accept the fact that there's a vast conspiracy, but only a few in the group decide to actually act upon it? And as long as the result was positive, the group will back it. That's what happened.
You know what it could have been too. What's possible? I wouldn't say likely, but it could have been literally one or two people from each group that stood to benefit. One person from Cuba, one person from the mafia, one person from the CIA, one person from here, one person from there, and they all got together and figured out a way to get this done without the rest of their group finding out about it. What do you think about Jack Root? Do you think that he was enlisted in this, or do you think that he was
Part,
just somebody
part two,
working
because
off of emotion at the moment?
Well, he definitely had mob ties, and I believe they told him, "You have no choice. You got to kill Oswald, or we're going to kill you or your whole family." That's why when he found out that Oswald was actually dead, they said all of his anxiety went away. He got completely relaxed when he found out that Oswald had died.
I mean,
So
he did years in jail before he even died, and he wasn't talking to nobody. He was
right,
holding it. Whatever
yeah,
happened,
yeah,
whatever reason was the reason he actually did it, because the reason he said he did it was really bullshit.
yeah.
That he held it down. He was in prison and everything for 2 years. Like, it was no big deal. Like, nothing happened. Like, he died off of cancer. Now, I don't gonna hold you like as though they can't give you cancer. We're not even gonna play that game either, as though something wouldn't have happened to him. Because if being logical, if you're involved in this type of maneuver, he has to go too.
Hey guys, I just want to give you a heads up. Next time we can go a little bit more into the motive. I can also go over some similarities to 9/11 from a kind of like a structural standpoint. There's some real interesting similarities that people don't realize that happened before an assassination.
Yeah,
And we didn't even
impossibility.
talk about the magic bullet.
It's a waste of time anyways. It didn't happen.
Yeah,
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying.
hit it,
That's such a big
hit
piece
this guy,
of the
hit that
history.
guy, hit over here. And
Right,
come on,
it
what are
is.
you talking about?
You know, the guy
bullet
that
has
made it
over
up, Arlen Specter, doesn't even believe in it. He's documented saying there's a serious flaws to my theory that I came up with.
Now here's the bullet had its own engine in it, right? So that they
Yeah.
could remotely wanted to move it.
And then it was pristine too, sitting in the back seat of the car, like without a scratch on it, like it never went through
Yeah,
a barrel.
flesh and bone don't mean nothing. Because it go through here, go through there, through material, hit this guy, come back, hit the other guy again. You can't go out at somebody and come hit back somebody again. Come on, man. It's a bullet, bro. Like, come on, really, magic bullet? You fucking serious?
All right,
What if
peoples.
comment this
Throw
ever
your
happened?
questions. Throw your questions in the comments. We got a part 2 coming up. So if there's anything you want to know, anything you need to ask Mark, anything you're wondering, just throw your questions in the comments and we'll get to it in the part 2. Thank you for joining us on the Young Podcast. Catch you guys next Sunday.
All right. Thanks.